He texts you when he's tired, when he's overwhelmed, when something is off in his world and he needs to escape the noise. You feel it every time. He doesn't reach out to celebrate. He reaches out to unload, to be heard, to be soothed, to be reminded that someone still sees him. But when the moment passes, when he feels a little better, when the pressure fades, he fades to dot you, become the exhale after his long day, the pause in his storm, the place where he doesn't have to pretend. And that sounds beautiful until you realize you are only those things in secret, in silence, in the spaces where no one else is allowed to see. You are not the woman he claims, but the one he confides in. Not the partner, but the pillow, not the love, but the release. He doesn't touch you with his hands, he touches you with his wounds. And in doing so, he makes you feel chosen but never claimed. CARL Jung would say, this is not intimacy, this is projection. He is using you to carry the emotional weight he refuses to hold in his marriage. Because he feels safer being vulnerable with someone who has no demand to stay. You ask nothing of him, except attention, and even that he gives in small pieces when it suits him, when it calms his unrest, when it fills his void. He tells you things he can't tell her, and that makes you feel special, important, needed. But needed is not the same as valued, and access is not the same as love. There are moments when you believe that if he can trust you this deeply, if he can be this honest, then surely it must mean something. But here is the hardest truth. He trusts you with his darkness because you are not the one holding the light of his reality. You are outside of his obligations, and that makes it easier for him to show up emotionally, because he knows he can leave whenever it gets too real. He can pour his pain into your hands, knowing you'll hold it, and then return to his life without ever offering to hold yours. And still you wait, you hope, you try to stay open because you feel that somewhere beneath the surface he does care. And maybe he does, but care is not commitment, and emotional intimacy is not a promise. He is married, but you are where he goes to breathe, and that might feel romantic until you realize you're the air, not the home. You become the space he uses, not the place he builds. You are the soft landing, not the shared future, and every time he reaches out, you feel that inner split between what you want to believe and what you actually see. You answer, because it feels good to be seen, to be needed, to be the one he trusts. But trust without transparency is still a wall. You may know his inner world, but not his real one. You don't see his calendar. You don't hear his plans. You only receive the parts of him that feel too heavy to carry elsewhere. And in doing so, you become a container for emotions that were never yours to hold. Jung believed that when people avoid confrontation, they seek mirrors. And you have become that mirror. He does not want to face the imbalance in his relationship, so he reflects his confusion into your compassion, his emptiness into your empathy, his silence into your sensitivity. You begin to confuse depth with devotion, because he says things no one else hears, because he looks at you like you matter, because he texts when he's falling apart, but never when he's whole. He shares his secrets, but not his weekends. He offers his thoughts, but not his time. He gives you vulnerability, but not visibility. And that is how emotional relief becomes emotional theft. He takes and takes without ever building a space for you to be poured into, and it's slow. So slow that you barely notice. You think you're helping. You think you're supporting. You think you're building something quietly, patiently, secretly. But love does not ask for patience in the shadows. Love does not require your silence so it can grow elsewhere. Love does not visit your soul for relief, then retreat when it's been fed. You are not a resting place. You are not a substitute for courage. You are not a gentle alternative to the confrontation he avoids at home. And yet you keep receiving, because part of you wants to believe that being his escape means something more. But you are not here to be someone's therapy unless you are being paid to be. You are not his emotional outlet, his midnight honesty, his invisible sanctuary, unless he is also yours in full, in public, in presence, in truth. CARL Jung warned that the one who cannot face his inner chaos will unconsciously create disorder in others. And that is what's happening here. He doesn't hate his marriage, he hates his inability to be seen in it. And so he finds you. Because with you he can be soft, he can be sad, he can be scared, he can be unfiltered. But none of those things mean he is ready to love you, to choose you, to live in the light with you. He is using you, not in malice but in avoidance. And that is still harm. And you have the right to stop being the one he leans on when he won't stand beside you. You have the right to say, this is not enough. You have the right to leave the role of the rescuer and return to your place as a woman who deserves to be loved, openly, completely, without conditions, without waiting, without hiding. You are not here to be the place he collapses, only to get up and walk back into someone else's life. You are the whole path, not the break from it. Asterisk, you are not selfish for wanting more than emotional fragments. You are not cold for needing to be chosen fully. You are not heartless for walking away from a man who only shows up in pieces. You don't need to wait for him to see your worth. You don't need to carry his pain to prove your love. You don't need to heal what he refuses to even name. If he cannot give you the same emotional safety he expects from you, then he is not ready, and your job is not to wait. Your job is to keep becoming the woman who no longer confuses emotional labor with emotional intimacy. The next time he reaches out, ask yourself not what he needs, but what you need. Ask if being his safe space is leaving you empty. Ask if his presence makes you stronger or smaller. You are not here to carry someone through their storms. If they have no intention of standing beside you in the calm, you are not here to fill the cracks in a life that is closed off to you. You are here to be loved in full light, not in quiet shadows and never in passing. Before we go deeper, if you've ever felt stuck in a one-sided connection that drains your emotional energy, the Jung Method can help you understand and release the invisible bonds that logic alone cannot explain. The link is pinned in the first comment. Now take a deep breath, because what comes next is about the quiet truth you've been avoiding. You feel needed but never chosen. You feel important but only in secret. You feel emotionally close but always just out of reach. He gives you access to his private thoughts but not to his public life. He trusts you with his deepest fears but doesn't invite you into his future. He cries in your presence but disappears when you need someone to stand strong beside you. This is not a relationship. This is emotional dependency, and he is the one depending on you. Not to love him but to carry what he refuses to carry himself. CARL Jung taught that what we reject in our conscious life becomes shadow, and what is shadow is projected. He doesn't share his world with you, because he hasn't yet accepted what he truly needs in his own life. He gives you his brokenness because he doesn't know how to hold it for himself. And he stays married because it gives him structure, but he turns to you because it gives him freedom. You are not the woman he built a life with. You are the woman who holds the part of him that cannot survive in that life. And you confuse that with connection, because it feels real, because it feels raw, because it feels honest. But the truth is it only feels that way because it's unfiltered. Pain, not devotion. He is not choosing you, he is leaking into you. And your empathy, your softness, your instinct to heal makes you believe that if you hold him long enough, he will heal and he will finally see you and he will finally choose you. But healing does not happen in hiding, and love does not grow in the dark. And a man who truly values you will not use your emotional labor as a substitute for his own courage. He knows how much you care. He knows that when he texts, you will reply. When he collapses, you will hold space. When he starts unraveling, you will listen. And yet he never asks what you need. He never wonders what burden you're carrying. He never pauses to ask how you feel when he disappears after pouring his soul into you, then returning to the life that never makes room for you, because you are not his partner. You are his outlet, his comfort zone, his escape from discomfort. And when the weight is lifted, so is his presence. You start questioning yourself. Maybe you're too demanding. Maybe this is all he can give. Maybe emotional connection is enough. But what you're really doing is rationalizing your own depletion, because deep down you know this is not equal. This is not mutual. This is not the kind of intimacy you deserve. You are carrying him while he floats through your life without ever planting roots, and you keep making space hoping he'll fill it. But he won't. Not because you're not worthy, but because he's not ready. He is not ready to be seen in full light. He is not ready to confront what is broken in his own story. He is not ready to become the man who walks in integrity, not just emotion. He thinks feeling is enough. But real love is not just about what you feel, it's about what you build. And he is not building anything with you. He is borrowing your emotional capacity to survive his own discomfort, and it's wearing you down, because you weren't meant to be a container for someone else's suppressed life. You were meant to be a creator, a mirror, a partner, not a therapist. Without a voice, not a safe place, without a name, you are allowed to stop answering. You are allowed to stop softening every time he's in pain. You are allowed to stop opening your heart to a man who only brings you his sorrow, but never his structure, never his safety, never his full truth. Carl Jung would say this dynamic is not a coincidence. It is your own unconscious trying to resolve something within you. The part of you that thinks you must be needed to be loved. The part of you that equates holding space with earning your place. The part of you that believes that if you love him through his chaos, he will love you back through yours. But the truth is, he cannot love you in the way you need, because he is still in love, with the comfort of his own hiding. He loves the way you receive him, but he does not love you in action. He respects the way you listen, but he does not respect you with consistency. He shows you rawness, but never responsibility, that and you deserve both. You deserve to be more than his emotional relief. You deserve to be his choice, his clarity, his intention, his presence. You deserve to receive, not just absorb. So stop calling it love when it is only relief. Stop calling it connection when it is only convenience. Stop calling it hope when it is only escape. You are not here to be his peace. If he is not willing to create peace with you, you are not here to be the woman he confesses to in private but erases in public. You are not here to be his softness if he cannot meet you with strength. You don't need more late-night messages. You need real presence, real choices, real love with real direction. You don't need his feelings, you need his decision. And if he cannot give that, then let this be your decision. Walk away. Not because you don't care, but because you've cared too much for someone who only shows up in pieces, but never brings his whole self to the table. You are allowed to stop being the one who always understands when no one ever asks if you're okay. You are allowed to stop being the one who carries emotions that were never yours to begin with. You are allowed to protect your peace, even if it means letting go of a man who only comes to you for emotional comfort, but never for emotional commitment. He may still reach out. He may still send you the same messages when the weight is too much, when the silence gets loud, when the world feels too heavy again. But you will no longer answer from the part of you that needed to be needed. You will answer, if you choose, from the part of you that knows you are more than a temporary relief, more than a quiet listener, more than a space he retreats to when he cannot face the life he chose. You are not a backup soul. You are not a holding place. You are the real thing. And you will only be received by someone who shows up fully, not only when they are falling apart, but when they are ready to rise with you.